showings module. So now we're going to go into the trade section, and we're going to go to transactions, and we're going to look at the reports that are available for you here under the blue, green, and yellow circle. These are reports that you probably go to your administration and ask for frequently. They're now available for you at your fingertips through WOLFconnect. So the first one is an agent earnings history report. This report is a report that you will run on a specific date range, and it will show you all of the commission checks or commission electronic fund transfers that were done for you between that date range. So it's going to show you the number of the check, the date, the property, the gross commission, the deductions, and the net. You also have a transaction production report. This is a production history report. So this is solely dependent upon what filter options you choose here. So an example might be, you might like to see everything that you closed in the last quarter of 2016 where you were on the selling side. All depends on what you select in here, the results that you're going to see. Expense statements. So the monthly bill that you're sent, you now have the ability to reprint that expense statement as well. So you don't have to go back and ask your administration to reprint it. So you'll just select your sheet and then your expense statement. There's no expenses for me, so that's why there's nothing for me to choose from, but each one of your expense statements will have a date on it. So if you're looking for your December one, it would say 2016 December. You also have an annual expense summary, which is a 12-month picture of your expenses. So if you are going to your accountant, for example, and doing a year-end, and this is something that they need, you could generate it for them. It will ask you what ending date you want to use, so whatever ending date your year-end is or whatever the accountant is looking for, you can put that in. There might be some reports that the administration chooses to generate from the accounting program and make available to you. So you wouldn't be able to pull them, they have to push them up here. If they do that, they will let you know that that particular report is available to you. They'll send you an email or something. And this would be the area where you would go to find it, in the Broker Wolf PDF reports area. So it would just show you your report from here, and you'd be able to access it. These reports as well, if it's something that you run all the time, you can grab them and drag them and pin them down to the side there so you have fast, easy access. The next thing we're going to do is we are going to actually add in a transaction, a trade, and submit it down to the accounting program. So whenever you get a contract, you're going to click the Add button here in the transaction section. That's going to bring you to this screen, which we refer to as the EDS, the electronic deal sheet. If this happens to be one of your listings, you can use this MLS search right here to find it. You can type in the MLS number, you can type in the street name, and it will bring that information in and populate these screens for you. If you're on the selling side, you'd have to manually enter this information in here. And on these screens, anywhere that you see a red asterisk, that means that that's a required item in order to save the record. So I pulled this from a listing, so it's actually populating some of the data for me, just gives me a little less data entry to do. But I must choose a classification, and I must choose a property type. And actually, I think I'll do an agent double ender for this one, where I, as the agent, am on both the listing side and the selling side. Selecting my property type. And another thing that I want to point out to you is that when you pull from the listing table, the listing price is going to populate the sell price field. So if it is different, then you need to make sure that you change that. Offer date and close date are required pieces of information. They have a red asterisk. And you can then mark this as firm or conditional. Your next step would be to go into the commission information and fill in the commission data for this particular deal. Because I pulled this from a listing, it's pulling me in on the listing side. It already knows I'm the listing agent. So now I'm going to put in my listing information right here. I'm just going to click on this and open it up. I do have to indicate my side count. So the listing side will always equal 1. I could be sharing this side with somebody else, and they might be getting half of it or maybe 0.3 of it. But whatever I put in here, I have to make sure that it's going to equal 1. So if I am sharing it, I would have to add that other person on, and our two combined numbers will have to equal 1. I then can enter in either the gross percentage box or I can enter into the gross commission box. They're both clickable data entry boxes. If you are putting a percentage in here, it's going to calculate that gross commission on the sell price field here at the upper right. So if you are sharing this with a bunch of different people, it might be a little easier to calculate that gross commission dollar and just put it into the dollar field right here. So if I was sharing this side with someone else, I would be able to add them onto here, though I would not be able to add in their commission information. When you add in another agent, it will notify that agent that their name has been added to a transaction and they need to come in and edit that information themselves. So if this also was an office double ender where another agent was on the selling side, you'd also have to add them in here too, because you do have to fully allocate the entire deal. A double ender is expecting you to have a listing side and a selling side in this area. So I'm going to click on Add Commission, and I'm going to put myself on here as the selling side agent with one side count for that as well, and then my percentage there, and now I've fully allocated this. At this point, I'm going to save this record, and that's what's going to create the record within the WOLFconnect system. It has not been sent down to the BrokerWolf program yet, and what you'll notice here at the upper left is the transaction number states pending, meaning that it's waiting to be submitted to BrokerWolf and accepted into the BrokerWolf accounting system and assigned a transaction number. Once it does, that transaction number will be reflected there for me. And I also will point out that once that happens, I will no longer be able to make any edits on this particular page. The only option I will be able to have is the print option once it's been assigned its transaction number. So any changes after that point, you would have to speak to your administration, and they will make those updates in the accounting system, which will then update this here. So you'll notice that we have a submit button right here. This is the button that's going to send this down to BrokerWolf. And actually, it's not allowing you to make any changes. So I guess all you can do at this point is submit. And they will add the rest of the information in for you. So once we have our transaction saved, you have a Documents and Tasks tab over here on the side, which is where you would upload any documentation. So when you click on Documents and Tasks, a checklist of documentation that's required for this deal will appear for you automatically. You'll notice there's these circles that are beside each one of these requirements. These circles are going to represent the status of the document at the time, and that status is based on this table right here. So anything that's white just means there's no file due at this particular moment. If it's red, it means it's overdue. So what you're going to do in order to get your documents in here is you're going to load the documents onto your clipboard to begin with. So everybody has their own clipboard within the system, and you will see it over on the right-hand side whenever you're in the loading docs area. You have two options for getting your documents onto your clipboard, and that is to click the Upload Documents button, and that will allow you to browse your computer and upload the documents onto your clipboard, or you can email them into your clipboard. I'm just going to click on this email documents thing right here. It just gives you information about how email documents work. Basically, everybody in the company has their own document email address. It's always your username for logging in at hom078.loadingdocs.com. So when you email to that address, you must have a PDF attached. Each PDF has to be smaller than 30 megabytes. You can attach up to 10 PDFs per email, and you can send to another recipient if you need to. So in the interest of time, I already loaded a couple of documents here onto my clipboard. This is the main one that I'm going to use, and then I've loaded up a revised document so I can show you what to do if you load up something and the administration rejects your document. So I'm going to open up this Loading Docs demo document right here. Just going to click on that little white triangle, and what it does is it divides this document out for me. So this is a multi-page PDF that consists of 24 different pages, and this PDF here could actually contain all of these things. I don't have to have a separate PDF for each one of my requirements. I can load them all into one single PDF like I've done right here. Once I've opened it, I can preview the entire document, or I can preview each page separately. And when you do preview, you have two options. If you just simply click on the preview button, it's going to open a preview window directly on the screen for you right here. You also can right-click on that preview button, and that opens it in a new tab and gives me more of a full screen view. If you happen to be a user who uses dual screens, this can be very helpful for you because you can drag this tab over to your second screen and still have your WOLFconnect open on the other screen and work off of two screens that way. So two different ways to use the preview. So we're going to assume for this demonstration that pages 1 to 5 are my agreement for sale or lease. I'm going to open that up with the little triangle right here, and then I'm going to grab pages 1 to 5. And I can use my control click or my shift click function to select those. And then I'm just going to grab them and drag them over here till we see that yellow color, and I'm going to drop them. Once I do, I'm going to submit them. And when I do that, that's what generates a notification to administration to let them know this document is here so that they can come in and review it. So when I hit the submit button and I have a multi-page document like this, it's going to ask me to change the name if I want to. It's going to assume the name of the PDF I loaded, so I'm just going to say agreement of purchase and sale for 123 Demo Street, whatever your naming convention is. So that action has now sent a notification off to our administration, and that allows them to come in and either mark this complete or incomplete. So we can see now that the status of this agreement for purchase and sale is changed. It's now yellow. It's sitting in a not yet approved status. It's been submitted, but it has not been approved. I'm just going to show you, I did a multi-page load there. I just want to show you what happens when you do a single page load. Oops, that's a task. Go to this one right here. So I'm just going to grab this and drag it up here and drop it. And when I hit submit for a single page, it doesn't ask me to change the name of the document. However, once I've done that, I can click on the little icon with the pencil, and that would then allow me to change that. If you have a document that gets rejected, it's going to come back to you in an email to let you know that your document has been rejected, and it will tell you in that email what's wrong with the document. So it might tell you, that you're missing an initial somewhere, and it could be a multi-page document like this agreement for sale and lease. This was a 5-page document, and it could be that the problem was just on page 3. You are going to have to reload it so that we have a new document with a change, of course, but you have to make sure that you are actually loading the entire document and not just the one page that might have a problem. So if that is the case, what you're going to do is you're going to load your revised document, your page, let's say that was page 3 of our agreement and purchase and sale. So I've got my revised page, but I still need pages 1 and 2 and pages 4 and 5. So to do that, I'm going to actually copy this back to my clipboard. So when I click on copy, it pulls it back on here because there was nothing wrong with pages 1 and 2 and pages 4 and 5. So I'm going to open this up. I'm going to reload pages 1 and 2. I will open up my revised page 3 with my change, and I'll load that up. And then I can put 4 and 5 back on here and load those up and resubmit this document. So just remember that you do have to reload the entire thing, not just the page where the challenge was occurring. There is a reason for that, just in case you're wondering, and that is that when these documents are marked as complete and they turn green at that point, they're available for the administration to access whenever they need them in the accounting system. So if they're sending an email off to a lawyer and they want to grab this document, they would be able to do so and attach it to that email. And if all they're approving is that one page 3, then they don't have a complete agreement of purchase and sale. So the only thing that's ever available to them is the last thing that they marked as complete, so you must load the entire document up. There are occasionally things that come up on a deal that don't apply all the time. You have to manually add them. So there is an add button right here for you that will bring those things up. So if you have an amendment, that's not going to attach itself automatically to the checklist. You're only going to add it if and when it applies. So all these various different items right here are available for you to add if and when they are applicable. Okay, so I'm just going to take you over now to the Loading Docs module itself. In the Loading Docs module, you do have your clipboard as a standalone item. So it's just an area where you can see the documents on your clipboard, you can upload the documents. It's just the clipboard on its own. The Manage area is an area that administration works in a lot, but it does allow you to see all of your transactions or your listings with documents on them as well. So it's just an area that combines the listing section and the transaction section into one single area. If I open up any of these right here, you'll see that I see all my requirements. I have access to my clipboard over here. I have that full functionality that I was just showing you back on the transaction. It really just depends on where you prefer to work, whether you prefer to work in here or whether you prefer to just do it in the transaction section. But you do have the option. In here you have some more search options. You also can say that you just want to see those that have a document that's not yet approved or something like that, and it will bring up only those ones where something's sitting in the yellow. And now when I open it up, it would only show me my yellow items. So just a few more options in here for searching and refining the information. I do want to mention that if you like working in this screen, whenever you're opening up a transaction or you're opening up a listing, you're going to click on that little triangle right there to open it up. If you click anywhere else on the listing or the transaction, it actually takes you out of this screen. And now I'm actually back in the Transactions Manage area where my transaction resides. So when you've added transactions in and you want to go back to them, going to Transactions Manage right here is where you would be able to see your transactions. And you can view your open, closed, and fallen through. So open is here by default. So just a couple of other little things to cover before we take questions. The blue circle that you see at the top of the screen is where you find our online help tool, our support center. This opens up in its own tab, and the page tree over here follows the menu structure. So if you're having a challenge in a certain area, whatever path you took through that menu structure to get to that area is the same path you would follow through the tree to find help on that particular topic. You also have a search tool up here. If you're unable to find an answer to your question through our help menu, your next course of action is to contact your administration. They are trying to become little experts on the WOLFconnect system. They want to know when you have a challenge. They want to know whether it's a system challenge or a procedural challenge. If they're not able to help you, that's when they come to our support department. So that is the chain as far as getting assistance go, is go to your administration as opposed to contacting us directly. They want to make sure that they're always aware of all the challenges that you might be facing in case there's some opportunity for training or a change to a switch that needs to be made in the system.